We no longer care what the people think, what the Western world thinks, and how they judge us, and how they label us. We're going to fight back stronger than ever before.
And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
And then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election.
I was going to say something about Biden and Harris.
Yes, what were you going to say? Oh.
But I don't like to curse. I'm scared there'll be little ears listening.
Well, and you've been up here. You've been up here for how long?
Just 2 days.
2 days?
Sheriff hadn't left, and he's doing a fantastic job, so.
That's right. I mean, Sheriff, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for all you do. I'm going to definitely get this up on social media. We're going live tonight with Sean Hannity. But if you had a message for the White House and how they've handled the situation up here in North Carolina, what would your message be, Sheriff Wright?
If you're going to do the things you've been talking about doing, we just assume you stay out of the way and let the good men and women around the mountain area and the foothills take care of our own, because you're nothing more than a boat anchor.
No help. FEMA hasn't been helpful.
Wait a minute. That lady that's running for president talks about the $750. Well, but all that money you give to Ukraine and all these other people that really want to kill us, don't want to do anything to help us, why don't you just give that money to them? That's who you want to give it to begin with.
And a lot of people have been turned down for the $750. Almost everybody I've spoken to hasn't received any of the funding, and they've been turned down for personal items.
Well, they talked about get on your phone or your computer. Did you not see what the devastation is? They don't have a phone or a computer.
There's nothing up here. There's no communication. I'm going to be posting this later. There's no way to access the internet unless you have a Starlink net. And everybody's...
Thank you, Elon Musk, by the way.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Elon Musk.
President Donald Trump, we need you.
What are the... Yes, that's a message for you, President Trump. And I was going to ask you, what are the most affected areas that you've seen? Is this pretty much ground zero from what you've seen, or can you...
I think that'd be better for the sheriff here to answer for sure, because he knows this county a lot better than I do.
Here in Rutherford County, what are the most affected areas?
Almost certainly. Lake Lure and Chimney Rock is the most affected areas. We've had...
I mean, we're here in Chimney Rock, and I know they've been cleaning... What was Chimney Rock? What was
Lure in the county, we've had a lot of damage, but nothing to this magnitude here.
This has just been devastating, and the people, right?
In shockwaves across the world, Hezbollah just confirming that Israel's strike on Hezbollah headquarters in Lebanon killed the militant group's leader, Hassan Nasrallah.
We no longer care what the people think, what the Western world thinks, and how they judge us, and how they label us. We're going to fight back stronger than ever before. Today, maybe he is, as a leader, he did not die. Sayyid Nasrallah does not die. Today, maybe he is, as a leader, he did not die. Sayyid Nasrallah does not die. He is still alive. He is an immortal. He is an immortal in what he was and what he continues to be and live inside each one of us. If they believe that they killed one Hassan Nasrallah, they just created hundreds of thousands of Hassan Nasrallah.
Iran sees the network of armed groups it has formed across the Middle East as the axis of resistance. This was the statement of Iran's supreme leader, read out on television after Hassan Nasrallah was killed.
The fate of this region will be decided by the resistance forces with Hezbollah at their head.
Don't let Nasrallah drag Lebanon into the abyss. We're not at war with you.
We're at war with Hezbollah, which has hijacked your country and threatens to destroy ours.
This video shows fire and smoke rising up into the sky before dawn today. People abandoned their homes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Now, these strikes were the most powerful by Israel during nearly a year of war with Hezbollah. The latest escalation has sharply increased fears of an all-out war in the Middle East.
Supreme Leader Khamenei has called for a strong response and also called on Muslims to stand by the people of Lebanon and Hezbollah.
Hassan Nasrallah reached the peak of his popularity after the war with Israel in 2006. He was seen as a hero, not just in Lebanon, but beyond. Standing up to Israel is what defined him and his Iranian-backed group for years.
Last night, the Iranians were, threatening that the Israelis had opened up the gates of hell and that they were coordinating with Hezbollah, promising that there were leaders waiting in the wings to fill the shoes of Hassan Nasrallah. But I gotta say, when I look around right now at what Hezbollah has left in terms of leadership, I don't think there's a lot there. I think right now that the Iranians look like they've been beaten, at least on this front. But you've got to remember also, the Iranians have been fighting Israel on 7 fronts. They still have Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that can be deployed. They've got the Houthis in Yemen that can be deployed. The Iranians have, of course, their own ballistic missiles and drones that they can fire. They did back in April. They can do it again. So this is a big moment.
It's one thing to replace a leader. It's another thing to replace a leader when your entire organizational chart underneath it is gone, which is what's happened with Hezbollah at this point.
When you look at the IRGC, Iran's military wing, we understand that a deputy commander was also killed alongside Nasrallah, and this ups the ante for the entire region. As we wait to see what comes next, we can expect Israeli warnings to civilians already. We understand that gatherings have been limited in the central part of this country, and this is an indication that Israeli officials are concerned about the possibility of retaliation following the strike that killed the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah.
The axis comprises of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. In Iraq, pro-Iranian Islamic resistance militias have joined the axis. And in Yemen, the Houthi militia. Since October 7th, those groups have all tried to hit the Israeli territory. The Houthis also targeted cargo ships in the Red Sea, a key route for international commerce. Iraq's pro-Iran militants struck a U.S. military base early this year. Those are the groups Iran's leader has called to escalate their fighting with Israel.
It is hugely significant, certainly. We cannot underestimate the turning point in the Middle East, in the geopolitical situation, when it comes to, this assassination of Israel.
We will fight until we achieve victory, total victory. There is no substitute for it.
It's an incredible hurricane. It has dropped... It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
Hurricane Milton is now a Category 5 storm after quickly gaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico.
It continues to defy all expectations and intensify at a rate faster than anybody expected.
It increased 100 miles per hour in 24 hours. That's only happened once before in our recorded history.
This is remarkable because it wasn't just a little more than 24 hours ago that this was a tropical storm.
The oddest weather predicament that there has ever been. So I can't believe that there's already another one.
And if you look at the rapid intensification, I don't believe in my time, I certainly haven't seen this much.
Overnight it was a Cat 1, now it's a Cat 5, and really anything above 156 miles an hour is classified as a Category 5, and it's now up to 180 miles an hour.
In the Gulf of Mexico, it is the strongest that we've ever seen when this late in the season, too.
Amazing.
And is expected to make landfall on Wednesday. That's less than 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida's Big Bend area, killing 227 people across 6 states.
But look at this. It's just been hard to find words to describe the eye, the symmetry. Like, it is just, the rapid intensification this morning has been mind-blowing.
I mean, really staggering numbers here. You're approaching,
really hope it weakens.
Yeah, I mean, you're approaching 200 miles an hour. That is really, really incredible.
And it could hit some of the same areas of Florida that were just pummeled by Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago.
And unbelievable that this would be happening in such fast sequence.
Force storm is now churning in the Atlantic Ocean. Forecasters say waves from Hurricane Kirk could cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions this weekend along the U.S. East Coast, Bermuda, the Greater Antilles, and Bahamas.
For the first time on record, 3 hurricanes are active in the Atlantic Basin in the month of October. Thanks to the Cooperative Institute for Research in the Atmosphere, here you can see these images, the trio, Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Kirk, and Hurricane Leslie, all developing. Milton became a Category 1 hurricane in the Gulf Coast yesterday. And of course, right now, Monday evening, it is the strongest hurricane on record in the Gulf of Mexico during the month of October.
Roughly 2.1 million customers are without power across the region. New drone video shows just how bad the situation is in Asheville. The city's now isolated after roads leading there flooded and cell towers were knocked down. One emergency official calls it biblical devastation.
Death toll continues to climb from Hurricane Helene, now one of the deadliest hurricanes on record. Hello, I'm Steve Eager. More than 120 people have died since Helene made landfall late Thursday night.
And my source tonight is the mayor of Tampa, Florida, Jane Castor. Mayor Castor, it's great to have you here. I know you have a lot going on. What is your number one message to Tampa residents tonight?
The number one message, as it has been for several days now, is that you need to prepare, do whatever you need to do, and then get out of the evacuation zones, which now are evacuation zone A and B. And as we all have heard so many times now, you hide from the wind and run from the water. And we are talking about right now the possibility of a direct hit with 10 to 12 foot tidal surge. Put that in perspective, Hurricane Helene, which just left the Tampa Bay area a week ago, there was 6 foot storm surge, and that was literally devastating to so many in our coastal area. We have 126 miles of coast just in the city of Tampa. And so people need to be heeding that warning. And from the looks of traffic on all of our northbound highways, they're doing just that.
Yeah, we've seen how jammed up those highways are. I know a lot of the tolls have been suspended to help facilitate people getting out of there. What would you say to people tonight who are saying, you know what, I'm going to ride this out, I've ridden others out? What would you say to people who aren't heeding those evacuation orders?
Well, I can tell you right now that they may have done that in others. There's never been one like this. And this, Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
If you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Oh, man, this Tone from Tampa, man.
Tone from Tampa, what's up, brother? How was everything out there?
It's a little light rain right now, heavy wind, but I'm going to just keep it a buck, man. This ain't where it's at, man.
Yeah, I'm going to say, y'all right in the middle of it. The eye's hitting Tampa from what the map shows right now.
Man, bro, my heart, bro. I'm scared, man. And then we still recovering from Helene, and it's like, bro, I want to get this off my chest, bro. This government is playing in our faces, man. It don't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. They playing in our faces, bro.
This government is playing in our faces, man. It don't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. They playing in our faces, bro.
It don't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. They playing in our faces, bro. You get Ukraine come over here, they get what they want. You get immigrants come over here, they get what they want. And you got people being denied these FEMA applications that you talking about the other day, Charlamagne. People being denied, bro. But you getting these migrants coming over here, $10,000 food stamps, bro. Fucking goddamn $5,000 cash stipends, man. This shit hurting, bro. We finna get ready to damn near die, bro. A lot of people couldn't afford to evacuate. And this government playing in our fucking face, man.
Damn. I totally understand, my brother. Absolutely.
It don't matter what they is, Democrat, Republican, they all treason, man. They all about money, bro. None of these people care about American people, bro. This shit hurt, bro. This shit hurt, bro. People wake up every day just want to live their life, bro. And you got these fucking greedy states, man. You got these fucking greedy states call themselves government service people, bro. And they don't give a damn, bro. They don't give a damn about the migrants coming over here. They using them too, man. This shit ain't right, man.
You're absolutely right, my
brother. I can't wait to start somebody, man. This shit ain't right, man.
You're absolutely right, my brother.
I can't wait to start somebody, man. I can't wait to start somebody, man. I can't wait to start somebody, man.
I mean, to hear what he said he can't wait till God come back. He's absolutely 100% right. Because at some point, I don't know who else can help a lot of people other than the Most High.
Bro, we're praying for you, brother.
Thank y'all, man.
Try to stay as safe as possible.
Yeah,
brother.
man.
And if you in Tampa, man, if you in Tampa, listen, y'all. Town and Country, West Tampa, Apollo Beach, Gibson, Davis Island, St. Pete, Clearwater, man, y'all get out the way, man. Get out the way. Go north, man. I don't care if you got to go to a high school, elementary, whatever, man. Get out the way, please.
All right.
Y'all be blessed, man.
Yeah, do what you can to stay safe, brother. And you know, when it's all said and done, we're going to see what we can do to help relief down there, man.
Absolutely.
And you don't edit nothing, Eddie.
Gotta get it
I want everybody. Well, I mean, of course, you got to bleep the curse words, but I want people to hear exactly how people on the ground feel.
Yeah, that got me almost crying.
That's everyday working class people on the ground. You can't lie to them.
But that's how he feels, and that's what people have been saying for the longest.
It just sounds like he's preparing to possibly not make it.
That man don't want to hear about no statistics. He don't want to hear about no data. He don't want to hear about none of that. He is on the ground, 10 toes down, real life experience. That's what politicians don't want you to see. Those are the people politicians not talking to.
God, those are the people that they need to talk to. And you see how he feels. He feels like, look, I live here. I work here. I pay my taxes here, and there is no help.
And he don't care about no Democrat. He don't care about no Republican. He don't care about no Trump. He don't care about no Vice President Kamala Harris. All he cares about is surviving.
Him and his family.
Who's going to help him survive?
That's right.
And as of now, nobody has.
North Carolina National Guard is investigating this incident with one of its helicopters. Take a look here. A viewer shared this video of the chopper coming entirely too close to Helene Recovery Distribution Site and blowing around a lot of items. This happened in Burnsville. Now, in a series of social media posts, the National Guard says this happened as they tried to deliver generators to the area to provide power to that distribution site. They say the crew did abort that landing and left the area when they saw what was happening. The National Guard says the crew is grounded for now, and they're working with the organization to identify how much damage the crew caused.
For President Donald Trump today, again referring to the conflict as a possible World War III.
Short time ago, Iran launched 181 ballistic missiles at Israel, and I've been talking about World War III for a long time, and I don't want to make predictions because the predictions always come true. We're not going to make, but they are very close to global catastrophe. We have a non-existent president and a non-existent vice president who should be in charge, but nobody knows what's going on.
In northern Israel, it was clear this attack was different.
This is tough now. Right now in October, world seems like it's falling apart.
Yeah, it's not just this, it's the longshoremen, it's the economy, it's everything's going up.
Okay, and to that point, an escalation that draws the U.S. in, might that be an issue where we could see the U.S. going after Iran's nuclear program? We know that that has been a thorn in the Biden administration side for some time now.
Okay, guys, we gotta get off the roof. These are coming down right next to us here.
Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu vowing to retaliate against Iran for the attack.
But, Israel has not had an attack like this from Iran in its history. And the mood of defiance there you heard from Benjamin Netanyahu suggests that Israel is going to respond with force. It's another incredibly dangerous moment in a conflict now which has lasted almost exactly a year and is spreading across the Middle East.
And then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election.
If they don't, this will be the last election.
That's my prediction. Nothing's more important. Nothing's more important. I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively.
There is some very good news for Elon Musk. He could be the world's first trillionaire by 2027.
The idea of a trillionaire.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be him. There's many others. I think it'll be an AI. There's nothing wrong with being very wealthy, but that just seems like an insane amount of money for a human being. And when you've got somebody who has the power to control a lot of things, not just X, but Starlink, he has a lot of power in the Ukraine-Russia war in terms of just the information flow. You have to wonder. Is this guy really stable?
Is he stable?
Yeah. Shouldn't that be a global worry? He's very powerful.
He is very powerful, and I tend to lean more where Coleman is on this. I think and I'm not an expert on the industries that he's in to the extent that you are. I will tell you this, though. Whenever I turn on the television, I see one of those rockets landing on its own back on the pad. It's cool as hell. And then I realize the government's asked him to rescue our astronauts next year. I'm thinking, obviously, this guy plays a role in our society that I think is often diminished by his political opponents.
Here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
Hi, everyone. And free speech is the bedrock of democracy. And if people don't know what's going on, if they don't know the truth, how can you make an informed vote? You must have free speech in order to have democracy.
And as Israeli air defenses were fending off the missile attack, a shooting on the ground in Tel Aviv has left 8 people dead and 9 people wounded. At least one shooter reportedly got off of mass transit and opened fire using a semi-automatic rifle. The United States played an active role in Israel's defense.
The country says 90% of those missiles hit their targets, the U.S. confirming our forces helped to defend against the attack.
And again, this is significant because it is the first time, according to Iranian state television, that the Iranians used the Fatah 4 hypersonic ballistic missile. Back in April, when Iran attacked Israel, they didn't use hypersonic ballistic missiles of this caliber, the latest that they have in their arsenal.
And the military says that there have been other strikes. But as far as we know, in a very sad irony, the only person killed was a Palestinian from Gaza who happened to be in the West Bank. We're not really sure how he died, but certainly the amount of shrapnel flying around was lethal. We'll have more details on that tomorrow.
Okay, Liz Palmer, thank you for that account. We can feel the tension in your counting there.
Let's just listen into what's happening in Jerusalem right now.
Talked about, the real concern here for Israel is that Iran is getting closer and closer to their development of a nuclear weapon. International watchdogs have indicated that Iranian nuclear facilities are enriching uranium closer to weapons-grade material, and this gives them a much shorter breakout time to produce a nuclear bomb.
I have one word: don't.
What is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran?
Don't.
And what's the message to Iran?
Don't. And Israel may be now launching a limited operation into Lebanon. Are you aware of that? Are you comfortable with their plans?
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping.
Look, Sandra, people need to go back and listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu said just last week with the UN General Assembly. He talked about it in biblical terms when he talked about Iran, and he talked about Moses, and he talked about appeasement, and that appeasement must end. He was talking about Iran. The United States has an opportunity to really leverage this and bring some type of peace to the region, and also work in concert with other allies in the region, with the Saudis as well. But this is on Israel, and that's the reason why I'm saying we shouldn't let them fight alone, because the question is, when does it end? And that's the reason I keep going back to what Netanyahu said. He has said it repeatedly. He looks at this in biblical fashion, that this is a fight to the end, and this is a fight between good and evil, and this is a fight to the finish.
He looks at this in biblical fashion, that this is a fight to the end, and this is a fight between good and evil, and this is a fight to the finish.
Douglas County Sheriff's Office has released some surveillance video of the moments leading up to the shooting death of an Atlanta police investigator who broke into a neighbor's home last week.
Authorities say they still don't know whether Aubrey Horton was having a mental health crisis or perhaps on drugs. They say they released the video in the interest of transparency and to dispel rumors. We want to warn you, it's hard to watch.
Help me! I got it with Jesus!
It was 5 o'clock in the morning last Friday in the St. Andrews Country Club neighborhood. Aubrey Horton rushed the door of a neighbor. The sheriff says they did not know each other.
Yes! Save me! Oh, I'm hungry! Help me!
The sheriff's office says the homeowner was concerned that Horton might harm his wife, who had just left for work. They had installed surveillance cameras after an early morning burglary attempt 3 years ago. You can hear the owner ask Horton if he needs help.
That is happiness, Lee.
Investigators did not release video showing Horton burst in when the owner cracked the door open or the sound of the shot when he fired in self-defense. The investigation continues, but in a news release, the sheriff's office says, after reviewing the available facts, we are confident that no charges will be filed against the homeowner. We're releasing video footage from the incident to provide additional clarity and transparency. In part, they say, in response to social media rumors suggesting a sheriff's captain owns the home. Not true, or that one of Horton's relatives had fled there after a domestic violence dispute. Also not true. The tragedy is all the more sad and shocking given that Aubrey Horton was honored just last month as Investigator of the Year for the Atlanta Police Department, which he had served since 2015.
Add one sentence. The Israeli Prime Minister came here today and said that Israel is surrounded by those who want to destroy it, an enemy. We're here, members of a Muslim Arab Committee, mandated by 57 Arab and Muslim countries. And I can tell you here, very unequivocally, all of us are willing to, right now, guarantee the security of Israel in the context of Israel ending the occupation and allowing for the emergence of a Palestinian state, independent state. He is creating that danger because he simply does not want the two-state solution. And if he does not want the two-state solution, can you ask the Israeli officials what is their end game? Other than just wars and wars and wars, I'm telling you, all of us in the Arab world here, we want a peace in which Israel lives in peace and security, accepted, normalized with all Arab countries.
If he's right that the Arab countries around Israel do want stability, do want peace, all they're asking for is a Palestinian state, why would Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not take that?
But just this last week, the United Nations General Assembly votes to remove the Jews from the occupied territories, including the city of Jerusalem. They give them 1 year to move. And it wasn't even a close vote. There was 145 nations that voted for it. There were 43, including the U.S., which decided just not to vote. And I just thought, what's really going on?
Israel says a response is coming, but Iran warns it's ready to attack again if provoked.
The missile attack comes as Iran-backed Hezbollah launched more than 100 rockets into Israel today, while the Israelis continued to target the Lebanese capital of Beirut with airstrikes. We're also following that other security incident out of Tel Aviv yesterday. 7 people killed in a shooting there, and the police say that these attackers came from the West Bank. Clearly many fronts at the same time, quite active for the Israelis.
It's really a fulfillment of what the prophet Zechariah and others said when he wrote, he says, on that day when all the nations are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations, and all who try to move it will injure themselves.
Iran, you said, and I thought that was interesting, Marie, that they're embarrassed right now. The only person that they managed to kill with all that targeting was a Palestinian.
That's right.
Multiple locations in Israel that were hit, among them 2 Israeli air bases, Nevatim and at Tel Nof. Now, these were the images at Nevatim. Visually dramatic, of course, but so far, there's no evidence of any actual damage at the air base itself. That's a major propaganda victory for Iran, but in actuality, the damage inflicted is extremely limited.
Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, released a statement saying, based on legitimate rights with the aim of peace and security for Iran and the region, a decisive response was given to the aggressions of the Zionist regime.
Amazingly, mind-boggling rising again in people supporting terrorist organizations of the most brutal and primitive kind.
People supporting terrorist organizations of the most brutal and primitive kind.
Can't time this with live television, but we have pictures right now of President Biden at Joint Base Andrews getting ready to board Air Force One, go down to Florida, and here you can see the live pictures on your screen. It's the magic of television. Try getting that on your phone. And he's going to Florida to survey all of the damage from Helene. And get this, there is a warning this morning from federal officials that our nation's emergency fund is running low on cash, and we have hurricane season all the way through next month. As the president walks up the steps to Air Force One, let's check in live with our national correspondent, Matt Galka. Matt, the timing perfect there as far as what we're talking about right now. But this is troubling as an American. Here I am in Las Vegas, not in harm's way from a hurricane, but at the same time, how can it be running low on cash?
Yeah, it's certainly not the news you want to hear, especially if you're living in the Southeast right now in one of those hard-hit states. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, better known as FEMA, this is the good news. They say they have enough money in the short term, but not enough for the rest of hurricane season. That's the message from Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas this week. FEMA is still tallying up the total damage from Helene as they're delivering food, water, and other supplies to those hardest hit states in the Southeast. Now, more than 150,000 households have already applied for disaster relief, but that's likely on the low end. That number probably going to go up and go up soon. FEMA has around $20 billion to work with for the remainder of the year, and Congress gave the agency the flexibility to spend it more quickly when they passed the short-term funding bill that lasts through December. They did that last week before leaving Washington. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he'll also be visiting some of the impacted areas today in Florida, and President Biden, as you mentioned, he'll be in Florida and Georgia surveying that damage as well. And both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, they also made some visits earlier this week. Hurricane season runs through November 30th, and we see a lot of these storms in the September and October months. At this point, if they're running out of money, there just has to be the hope that the U.S. does not get hit by another catastrophic storm.
At this point, if they're running out of money, there just has to be the hope that the U.S. does not get hit by another catastrophic storm.
Charles has unveiled his first official portrait since his coronation. Take a look at this, the striking oil painting.
It is striking.
With him staring head-on against the backdrop of red, pink, and fuchsia hues.
Why is it all red?
Yeah, I don't really see him either.
It's...
Uh-oh. The portrait is more than 6 feet tall. It was painted over 3 years by a UK artist. The artist says the butterfly above Charles's shoulder represents his transformation as king.
With a butterfly about to land on his shoulder, critics could not help notice the portrait looked a little sinister, joking he just needed horns and a pitchfork.
The Bible scored monster ratings, more than 13 million viewers, but also stirred controversy because you saw the man in the cloak here look familiar. A lot of people looking at that and saying, looks a lot like President Obama. By the way, this is Satan in this series. So now the movie's executive producers are hoping to avoid that. They are reporting cutting this character from the film's version.
This church has maintained power for thousands of years. They will stop at nothing to keep it that way.
This is no serene place, though. It is loaded with creepy and suspicious people and settings. When the young woman is warned about a possible conspiracy by a faction of the church to lure young people back, it's revealed that the birth of the spawn of the devil must happen. Shot on location in Italy, The First Omen pays great attention to every detail of every shot of this movie. It is beautiful and it is haunting.
And some really disturbing and horrifying imagery is showcased through the entire movie. It's pretty bold of the studio to actually go forward and do some of the stuff they did in this movie, because I really thought we were only going to see some of this with films like Immaculate, which, funny enough, very similar to The First Omen in many ways.
It's a miracle. You are with child.
You just have to let whatever happen. How can we trust what's inside you?
It's quite the commentary on everything from faith to God to the devil. I mean, it's you go after some pretty deep.
You're too afraid. Doesn't it seem like these assignments are getting weirder?
I can't even tell anymore.
Your director said that she was on set and was filming a scene in a piazza and said that she felt kind of off that day. And then she spoke to the gaffer or someone and they said, oh, it's because the circumference of this place is 666.
Yeah.
It sounds quite creepy and spooky, so I'm wondering if either of you had any creepy, spooky stories from the set of The First Omen.
I was staring at Ralph's necklace one day. Ralph Ineson, who plays Father Brennan, and he had this crucifix on, and we'd just done a possession scene, so it was, tensions were high, and I was sort of just locked in a gaze at his neck at this crucifix, and I promise you, I was about to swear there, sorry, I promise you, it just snapped in half, this crucifix, and just fell off of his neck, and the two of us were like, because emotions were already running high, we genuinely thought we had just seen a ghost. Listen, there's more, okay?
What can we look forward to in this final season?
I look forward to every single new script that I get, and I'm always blown away by what they've come up with. And I think as a viewer, you'll have the same experience. It just gets crazier and crazier, and when you think it can't possibly get any crazier, it will still get crazier.
In the capital of Mexico's violence-plagued state of Guerrero, police hold the scene where its new mayor was found dead. Alejandro Arcos had only been mayor of Chilpancingo for 6 days before being killed on Sunday, according to Guerrero's governor. Photos had circulated on WhatsApp depicting a severed head on top of a pickup truck, appearing to be that of Arcos. Reuters could not independently verify the photo's authenticity. Guerrero State's Attorney General's office said it was investigating his murder. 3 days before the mayor was murdered, the new city government secretary was also killed. He was shot to death. The head of Mexico's PRI political party has called on the federal Attorney General's office to lead the investigation into both deaths, given, quote, the situation of ungovernability in Guerrero. It's become one of the deadliest states for aspiring and elected public officials, as well as for journalists.
At least 6 candidates for public office were killed in the state in the run-up to Mexico's June 2nd elections.
At least 6 candidates for public office were killed in the state in the run-up to Mexico's June 2nd elections.
Lamentable suceso del presidente municipal de Chilpancingo.
On Monday, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum spoke about the case.
Las investigaciones necesarias.
She said her cabinet planned to roll out a new security strategy on Tuesday.
But we begin tonight hearing from the father of a 7-year-old girl who was allegedly killed by her 13-year-old sister. Thank you so much for joining us for 7 News Detroit at 6. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. The tragic death of Jessie Jane Lilburn happened this past weekend in Taylor. Her sister has been charged with first-degree murder and is currently at Wayne County Juvenile Detention Center.
7 News Detroit reporter Tiara Braddock is raising the voice of the father of those 2 girls about how this unthinkable tragedy has impacted his family.
The father of that 7-year-old girl who was allegedly killed by her sister opened up to me, letting me know who his daughter was. Her name was Jessie Jane Lilburn.
Little JJ, Jessie Jane, she was just a ray of sunshine, always wanted to be outside, always riding her bike.
Jason Lilburn's life was changed forever on September 28th. That's the day his daughter Jessie Jane was killed.
This has been the roughest stretch of my entire life. You never imagine, even in your worst nightmares, something like this to happen.
On that fateful day, Lilburn's 13-year-old daughter was babysitting Jessie Jane while he and his wife were out. Police say the 2 sisters got into an argument, and when it ended, the 13-year-old allegedly stabbed Jessie Jane multiple times.
We thought there were just normal sibling arguments. Everybody argues with their little brother and little sisters. Yeah, it was a normal thing. It never resulted in any violence or any physical altercations, other than maybe a little push or a shove, but this was totally unexpected.
Lilburn's 13-year-old daughter is now in custody, charged with first-degree premeditated murder, as he and his family are trying to pick up the pieces. There is a memorial outside of the Lilburn home set up to honor Jessie Jane. It's filled with things she loved, like her bicycle. How does it make you feel when you come out and see this?
Honestly, I get emotional every time seeing this. It really pulls at my heart that she's not with us anymore and that there's so much love for her.
Lilburn says he wants people to remember Jessie Jane for who she was and not for how she died.
Loved out being out on the boat and swimming and catching frogs and snakes and whatever she could find, and playing with her friends and hanging out with family. Just smiling all the time. Every night, she would give a 20-minute hug to procrastinate going to sleep. But she gave the best hugs. And that's been the most challenging part, to go to sleep at night without her little arms around us.
Reporting in Taylor, Tiara Braddock, 7 News Detroit.
Certainly unimaginable. Thank you so much.
A dangerous mystery substance has been discovered in our area. It's actually a chemical with industrial uses, like a UV blocking component added to plastic. And it's making its way into street drugs. It can cause symptoms like blurred vision, ringing ears, and excessive vomiting. As WRAL's Heidi Kirk reports, Edgecombe County is the first place in our area where this substance was found.
It looks like any other small blue pill, but it's what's found inside that's rare and dangerous.
This is for sure not the type of contaminant we would expect to see in the drug supply.
Nabarun Dasgupta says the chemical BT-MPS has been on his radar since June, appearing in North Carolina in a sample brought to UNC's Street Drug Analysis Lab just this month.
We saw it first in Asheville, and then the week after we saw it in Edgecombe.
Edgecombe County's community paramedic program manager called WRAL News when he saw the chemical appear in these pills. What concerns you the most about this substance?
The biggest concern I have is not only is it in the powder form, but it's in the peel form. And the samples that we got from the powder, the patient said that they were passing out, they were, burning in their chest, they were coughing. But what does that look like for someone who's just on the peels?
While it's not deadly, Dasgupta says there could be effects we haven't discovered and even long-term consequences.
I think I'm concerned about the lung damage that potentially could come from smoking it. And we also hear reports of a lot of vein damage from injecting it.
Plus, Dasgupta tells us he doesn't know why it's being added to the supply, with no added benefits to users that he's aware of. Heidi Kirk, WRL News, Edgecombe.
The breaking news out of the Middle East, where Israel conducted its heaviest strikes on Hezbollah targets in Beirut, Lebanon, since the start of the conflict. Israel's escalation in Gaza and Lebanon come amid rising fears of Iran being drawn into an all-out regional war.
When calling for a ceasefire, as we did for Gaza and as we did for Lebanon last week, we make sure we don't call for a ceasefire while continuing to send weapons for the war. And I think it's simply about being consistent. C'est simplement de la cohérence.
Bombing in Beirut goes on. Giant flames leapt into the night sky over the city's southern side.
There was quite an explosion which just rocked Beirut. Here it is here. We take the audio as well. So the building had been on fire for the best part of the last hour, and then something erupted.
The French president calling for an end to weapons shipments to Israel.
Shame on them. Israel will win with or without their support.
Almost midnight in Beirut, the night sky becomes a fireball. The Lebanese capital under heavy attack. For the people here, there would be no sleep. Multiple Israeli airstrikes continued for several hours. Next to a hotel, this building goes up in flames. The IDF says it's been targeting Hezbollah facilities, often in residential areas.
جثامينهم قد قطعت، جثامين قد تهالكت، جثامين قد بترت بشكل كامل. الطواقم تعجز حقيقة من تكوين جثة كاملة في هذا المكان. المشهد صعب جدا ومشهد مأساوي.
إلي 80 سنة عمر ما شفت هيك. هذا زلزال زلزال زلزال. هذا اللي بضربوه علينا. هذا حرق بيحرق الناس حرق. كلهم إشي صاوب وشي مات وشي صار يقولوا يخرب فيه ويرضي. راح على المصلى لقوهم محربين. إيش طالع بدينا؟
كل اللي كانوا مسجونين هنا مدنيين، كلهم معنا
الناس ساكنين في البيوت، هي بتطلع البيوت تاعتهم لانه بيوتهم قصفت، ما لهمش ملجأ الا المدرسة. فانظروا لنا يا عم، انظروا لنا يا عالم، حرام عليكم.
For a sixth day, plumes of smoke are rising from the biolab plant in Conyers. A fire burned the plant on Sunday. Fox News' Kim Loeffler spoke one-on-one with the Rockdale County Commission chair today to find out how much longer this will go on. Kim, people there are understandably frustrated.
Yeah, they are, and the chairman tells me right now there's no clear timeline on exactly when this plume will go away. Now, take a look at what we are seeing at this hour. The chairman says this is all part of the cleanup process, and I can tell you this is some of the lowest levels that I have seen this plume since I've been on scene here covering this story since Sunday. We also know BioLab is bringing in their own team to help with cleanup as well as field community concerns.
I wish I could tell you that this is over tonight or over tomorrow or over the next day.
Rockdale County Commission Chair Oz Nesbitt says crews have been working around the clock to clear debris at the BioLab site and remove the chemicals underneath. The resulting chemical reaction sending chlorine into the air. Nesbitt says the roof of the building and 17 walls collapsed onto the existing product, which the fire chief said is pool shock used to clean pools after a fire broke out on the roof of the building Sunday, which firefighters put out that day.
Several years ago when this incident took place, that plume took us eastbound down I-20 towards Augusta and on into South Carolina. We're making sure that we're not having that type of reaction this time. If you move the chemical in the product too fast, too swiftly, we're going to continue to see off-gassing and more of that plume that we've been seeing.
Now he says BioLab is bringing in a new incident response team to work with the county to clear the site. BioLab is also setting up a physical office for community members and business owners to share any concerns, including some reports of debris falling in people's yards.
They will have a team that will be able to respond.
5 people have died in a small plane crash. This happened last night. The aircraft registered to a flight school at the Santa Monica airport. KTLA's Omar Lewis live at the airport with the latest on the investigation. Omar, good morning.
Frank, good morning. It was a small twin-engine Beechcraft 95 that departed from this very airport yesterday evening, but it would not make it to its destination. It crashed just about a mile west of the airport on Catalina Island, killing all 5 people on board. We can show you video of that flight's path yesterday. It was departing from Santa Monica Airport yesterday evening, bound for Avalon Airport on Catalina Island. Around 8:08 p.m., a 911 SOS alert was sent from a cell phone belonging to one of the passengers on board, signaling an emergency and informing the LA County Sheriff's Department that a crash happened. The location was tracked by GPS coordinates, prompting a swift response from the Sheriff's Department on Avalon and the Los Angeles County Fire Department and multiple search and rescue teams. This is video from the Catalina Island Conservancy's Instagram page, where you can see what it looks like from above approaching the Avalon Airport. Rescue teams from the wreckage in a steep, rugged area on Catalina Island. They tragically found all 5 adult passengers on board who were pronounced dead at that scene. Officials are now working to secure this crash site as the investigation unfolds. And Frank, as you mentioned, this plane that crashed here was registered to a flight school right here at Santa Monica Airport. We can tell you that the FAA and the NTSB are all investigating this crash. Of course, as soon as we get more details, we'll be sure to pass that along. That's the latest for now. Here live from...
Are diving back into a puzzling issue we first told you about last night. Perhaps this has happened to you or somebody you know. Apparent mosquito bites leaving people with very odd symptoms like very swollen hands and intense pain.
Even some doctors are not sure what to think of it. Since our story aired, we've been inundated with emails and social media comments from viewers reporting similar reactions.
So, News 4's Tanner De Leon has been talking to some of those folks today. Tanner, what are you finding out?
Well, each person has a similar story. They or their kid were bitten by a mosquito. It started swelling, burning, itching, and slightly painful. Some symptoms lasting hours, others lasting days.
I freaked out.
A worried mother seeing her baby swell up after being bit by mosquitoes.
My biggest fear was it swelling to the point where it could have problems with her arteries or closing her throat up or causing breathing issues, because it was huge, very, very big.
After seeing our first story air, she reached out to News 4.
I was like, that is crazy, because I thought we were the only ones happening to.
Her pediatrician told her it's an allergic reaction, but she, her husband, and their kids have never experienced something like this from a mosquito bite until the last couple months, and they aren't the only ones.
I've never had a reaction from a mosquito bite before. Does, of course, makes a normal little lump, but I've never had such a severe reaction from anything like that.
Many others flooding our emails and dropping comments on our Facebook post, all saying and showing similar reactions. Jackson lives in Tulsa, which makes him believe this isn't an isolated issue.
What was going through my mind is what kind of, virus or disease that thing could be carrying, to cause that.
I reached out to multiple health agencies, epidemiologists, and bug experts, each saying our story was the first time they have seen or heard of something like this happening, which has many concerned.
That just absolutely blew my mind. I just saw that article today, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it's happened to others. I just thought, it was an isolated thing.
Now, both the Oklahoma City County Health Department and the State Health Department say our story has sparked concern and interest on what could be possibly behind this. For now, they say they'll continue their normal mosquito testing efforts and keep an eye out for anything abnormal.
You also warns of an alliance brewing between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
They're working together, that's for sure. Whether that's an axis or an alliance, but certainly there are symptoms, signs that they're working together.
Do we have a real close ally in Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think, with all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important alliance between the American people and the Israeli people? And the answer to that question is yes.
And you can see Israel surrounded by enemies.
They continue an offensive in Gaza. They continue an offensive in Lebanon. They're dealing with Houthi rebels, lobbing missiles as well. So as much as things have changed, a lot remains the same. The question, this country right here, Saudi Arabia, will all of this Iranian agitation eventually push them back into a relationship with Israel? Some people contend that could be possible. But after this last year, I wouldn't bet that we know what's going to happen next.
Don't.
As President Biden said, just don't.
Exactly. One word. Pretty straightforward.
What is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran? Don't come across the border. Don't escalate this war.
That's right.
And I'm not isolating Washington only. I'm talking about Europe as well. If you are focused yet again on whether or not we can appease this regime and cut a deal with them and negotiate with them, and in a way expect a behavior change from this regime, that simply means that we have yet to understand the DNA and nature of the system.
Russia's foreign ministry said on Friday that a decision to remove the Taliban from a list of banned terrorist organizations has been taken at the highest level. In July, Russian President Putin had said that Russia considered Afghanistan's Taliban movement an ally in the fight against terrorism.
It's difficult to say whether Washington understands this, but so far this show has been going on following the Israeli script. And if it reaches its finale, the conflict can reach an unimaginable level of escalation and will threaten not just the Middle East, but the entire world.
Today, Hezbollah, for its part, continuing to fire rockets on northern Israel. And then this morning in northern Gaza, the Israeli military ordering more than 300,000 Palestinians to once again evacuate. This time, the Israeli military says they're focusing on the Jabalia refugee camp, where they say Hamas is reconstituting on the same day that they targeted a mosque and a school in the central part of the strip that they allege Hamas is exploiting. All of this happening on the eve of the anniversary of the October 7th attack.
Hamas is exploiting. All of this happening on the eve of the anniversary of the October 7th attack.